This conference will now be recorded.
That'll avoid some of the feedback that we have. The first thing we have is the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor, you having Reverb Nation here, buddy.
Is the adoption of the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion to accept this adoption?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a
Brad Rich, would you please cut your mic off, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The audio is really delayed. I'll put this back.
Okay.
The audio. I'll put this back.
Okay, should I cut this off?
Yeah, we'll cut that off.
Should I cut this off?
Yeah, we'll cut that off.
Should I cut this off?
Yeah, we'll cut that off.
Caller 3, would you cut your mic off, please?
All right. Does that sound any better? Thank you. Let's start over, shall we? Everybody can hear us. Mr. Waters, if you would you do an invocation for us if you can hear?
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let's pray. Our most gracious and heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you tonight in your name, Jesus. Thank you so much for your blessings you have bestowed upon us, Lord. Lord, as we go into the new year and preparing for the things to come in the future of Cape Carteret, I ask that you be with each and every one of the commissioners, the mayor, the staff, as we get ready for the upcoming events, the topics we need to discuss. Lord, give us the wisdom, give us the knowledge, give us the patience that we need to have, Lord, to work together to make things possible for this town. Thank you, Lord. Lead us, guide us again, and bless our nation, Father. Lord, I feel like we're living in the divided states of America, not the United States of America. Bring us together, Lord. Bring us together, unite us for the betterment of our country, for the betterment of the states, and for the betterment of our communities. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. And if I would, just to everybody, we'll have a moment of silence for the deaths we've had in our community, which is Billy Hobbs and John Henderson. So a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Once again, sorry for delays and all this stuff we're trying to do. And as I said earlier, the main reason this meeting is considered to be virtual. I'm here mainly because if we have someone sign up to speak, I want us to be here and have this boardroom open, get on the internet, and have an opportunity she opted to be. Brother, this is awesome. I'd rather see people stay on feeling a little you're all right. Can y'all hear me okay still?
No, I can't hear you. It sounds like somebody's trying to tune a guitar in the background.
Everybody all right?
All right, so, can y'all hear me okay still?
Seeing how she's not here, would be easier for us to go to set it up in there right quick.
Yeah, I can bring my laptop in here and hook it to that TV, that'd be fine, I think.
Yeah, just whatever, once we can do that. What are you looking for?
HDMI.
Is it working now? It is? Does it sound better? Thank
Sounds a lot
goodness.
better to me, Mayor.
Well, thank you. Yep. Well, as I was saying earlier, we're just gonna, only reason we're here is we assumed that we had some people to sign up. We have Ms. Holtz, who was online. Anyway, we'll just start. So, we'll do the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as it is?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Miller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, have a second from Jim first. We'll do a roll call vote. Getting all in favor. Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Nalitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
And Commissioner Waters?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next up is the consent agenda, which is the meeting minutes from 12/14/2020. Do I have a motion to accept those?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote again. Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Nalitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
And Commissioner Waters?
Yes.
All right, so next up we have public comment. Mrs. Holtz, I believe, is online. Signed to speak this evening, so once we get set up, we'll let her have her here to speak. Mrs. Holtz, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. I'm on my telephone. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you, ma'am. If you would like to go ahead.
Yes. Almost every day, if not every day, I travel on Manatee Street and Golf and Dolphin Drive. And I have observed that there are no signs up on the wires above the road indicating the lanes. Now, if we are going to have a new Starbucks at that corner, I think it would behoove the town to ask the state of North Carolina to put in some signs on those overhead wires indicating that traveling south on Golf and Dolphin Drive, in the left lane you can go straight or turn left, and in the right lane it's a right turn only. Now there are signs that indicate that coming out of the opposite street at the shopping center, which is Enterprise Avenue, but no signs either coming out of Manatee trying to get onto 24 or go across. No signs at all, and I just think that would be a good idea if the town agrees to ask the state to put in signs indicating what you can do in which lane. The arrows, particularly on Golf and Dolphin Drive, no longer exist on the ground, on the pavement. And there's only one set of arrows on Manatee, and if you get strangers coming into town, they really aren't quite sure which way to go. That's all.
All righty, well, we'll look into it.
Thank you, sir.
That is confusing
Good night.
coming out of the, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And I believe
Good
that's all.
night.
Good night. And I believe that is all we had for the public comment. So next is staff updates. Zach, I'll turn it over to you. You need to take that with you, and I'll come get it back from you when you're done.
Alrighty, just a couple of things. Want to run through. The county's supposed to start with the dredging project. It's either this afternoon or tomorrow. So this is over on Live Oak. You can see the silt retainment around the site and their office trailer set up. So they should be starting on the old ferry channel section. So we're excited to see that getting started in the next couple of days. Just a little update on the coronavirus. This is the most recent case count information with 428 active cases, 3,300 total cases, and 14 hospitalized at Carteret Healthcare. Also want to mention for those that are 75 and older that you can go on the website provided by the county, which is www.carteretcountync.gov/vaccine. And you can sign up for an appointment to get a vaccine. You can also call up to the health department to get an appointment for the vaccine. So wanted to pass that useful information along. If you hadn't had a chance to check out Connect with Cape Carteret, it's on our town YouTube page as well as Facebook and Instagram. So be sure to check that out. We do that each month as an update to the residents about what's going on each month in Cape Carteret. So I've gotten a lot of views on that, and we sent that out to over 400 email addresses throughout the town. So really good that we're able to get that information out. Also want to recognize the police department on their fundraising efforts for misplaced mutts. You can see the check presentation there on the left. And then on the right are the supplies that we collected for the Carteret County Humane Society, and we'll be bringing those up there to the Humane Society this week. So thank you to everybody who brought supplies by, and excited to be able to help out these two charities. We have the RFPs for the Unified Development Ordinance Establishment Project, as well as the RFP for the Camo Land Use Plan Update are both on the town website. Those close at the end of this month, and hopefully we'll have that on the agenda for the upcoming Board of Commissioners meeting in February to discuss. Last but not least, want to give a shout out to the Cape Carteret Police Department. This past Saturday was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and just want to say thank you to Chief McKinney and all of the officers for everything that y'all do for the community. So, thank you, sir. And with that, I'll hand it over to Chief if you've got any updates for the folks about what's going on in the police department. Yeah, I'll turn it around.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that we appreciate the great influx of gifts and goodies that we received during the Christmas season. The officers were thrilled to receive all those items from the citizens and very appreciative of it. The month of December, I did want to say our officers are working hard, and we had one particular business in town that where there was felony usage of credit card, and so our officers investigated that, and they've taken out 6 felony warrants for that individual. And so our guys remain hard at work, so we're thankful for what the guys are doing. I also had the stats, and let me just get those real quick. I know that the town manager, Zach, he gave out some of the stats, but the guys continue to work the roads hard and heavy, and last year, 2020, they did a total of 2,778 traffic stops on top of the other calls and calls for service and reports filed. And so I'm real pleased with the guys that they continue to be very productive. Thank you.
Alrighty, and then for the Public Works Department, they're working on taking down the Christmas decorations. They got the sleigh and the reindeer from the Highway 2458 intersection. They've been doing some stuff around the shop with getting all the vehicles inspected for the year and doing some maintenance on those. And they've been working on the Pettiford Creek launch facility up there on Highway 58, clearing some of the trees in preparation for the walkway to go in place. site so that there's a good buffer between the property there and the adjacent property. So they got a lot of things going on, and I think that's, one other thing, the auditor came on Friday and met with Sandy. So that went well, and hopefully we'll be getting that presentation from the auditor in the near future. So that's everything we have for staff update.
All right, well, I guess we need to get the chief, get back in front of the camera for the next issue, which is the budget amendment. It's got your name on it, chief. You want? Yeah, just, that's fine. Just pick up and see it here.
Okay. I believe it's in their packet, the letter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, first off, of course, I know if y'all have any questions that I'm here to answer those. Presented in the letter, I have requested for additional $19,000 to be added to the budget for line item 4702, salaries and wages, overtime, to increase that by $3,000 to $7,000. I've asked for an increase on part-time salaries and wages, line item 4704, by $4,000 to a total of $8,000. And vehicle repairs and maintenance, I have asked for line item 4830, again, vehicle repairs and maintenance, an increase of $12,000 to a total of $27,845. In the letter, I've explained the reasoning and the reasons for the increase. We've had a challenging year, and if there's any questions as far as that part of the budget, I'll be glad to answer those. I just had a printout. Let me find it. I have it written down. It's unfortunate as the fleet ages that our maintenance costs have gone up tremendously. We've had some major repairs. There was I missed one figure on in the month of November. Actually, the total was for maintenance, vehicle maintenance in November was $7,193.05. December, we had $2,071.44 for a total of $9,264.49, which helped finish off vehicle maintenance budget. So that's essentially what I've got. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. I know that I'll go ahead and add now that we've got in the packet also where the new car is in transition. Okay, and the new vehicle is in status F, which is the painting of the vehicle. So hopefully we will have delivery very soon on that vehicle. Anybody have any questions?
The only question I got, Chief, is that going to be enough?
That's my question.
Well, let me just tell you what's currently happening. We just have one vehicle that came out of the shop this afternoon with $150 heater hose repair. And the vehicle that just had a major repair was dropped off at the shop with another major leak, and we don't know at this time what's going on with that vehicle. So to answer that question, I tried to be as conservative as possible, but my fears are that on the vehicle maintenance portion, particularly, that might not be enough. And I put in the letter that we currently have one of our vehicles at the dealership with over a $2,400 repair, which has to be done at the dealership because the system has to be reprogrammed by the dealership, the steering mechanism, once that repair is done. So that's what we're up against.
All right.
So your figures are at a minimum, Chief? Or is this something that will get you through for the rest of the budget?
I guess I'm very conservative in my estimates. And if the board chooses to be more gracious, as I stated in the letter, I will do everything I can to preserve the town's monies. And that's all I can promise. I feel like that as far as we've had some major challenges on the overtime and the part-time. I've discussed those in the letter, and we hope that we don't have those issues in the following 6 months. And if we don't have another major incident, that should get us through, yes.
Anybody else got any questions for the chief?
I'll say, go ahead, Don, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, Chief, I sympathize and understand with you on all these issues. I know what you're going through with the vehicle maintenance, and that's very understandable. And I know what it takes to keep these vehicles running. And some of them are starting to get miles on them. I know there's some that think we should be driving 150,000 plus miles, but you and I both know with these type of vehicles, that's just not going to happen. You certainly got my support there. And as far as the overtime and part-time, I'm looking at this right. You're requesting overtime of $3,000 up to a total of $7,000, and part-time increase $4,000 up to a total of $8,000. And I would have to go back and check the numbers, but I think those numbers that you're trying to add it up to is just about what I had 5 years ago when I was a chief here. So I mean, you've taken a big dip as it is, and under the times that we've been in, and especially you being out of office for 3 months, I mean, I can see where that you need that money. I'm in support of this, if this is enough. The one question I would ask is, as far as your overall budget, are there other areas that you're probably not going to go over or have money left over? Or are you pretty much running budget on everything? In other words, I know a lot of times you can go over in one area and not another, but you don't go over overall in your budget. Are there any areas like that where you see where you're going to have extra money, you think, going forward?
There are a few areas where I think we will have some extra money that could be transferred over if need be.
That's all I got there.
Commissioner Miller, you had comments? Excuse me, Martin. Commissioner Martin?
I'm gonna say my comments if and when we get a second on anything. I've got a lot I want to discuss with the chief, but I'm gonna wait until then. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the that we approve this budget amendment as reflected in the chief's request.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, Commissioner Waters. If you want to comment now, Commissioner Martin?
Sure. First of all, Chief, can you hear me, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have several questions and statements that I want to make, so please bear with me. I just want to comment, Chief, that the Board of Commissioners worked tirelessly to achieve a budget that didn't require a tax increase. If the amount of $19,000 was added to your current budget during our budget meeting, it would have required close to a .5 tax increase. You do understand that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We added a full-time, part-time officer, which during that budget process, which I feel like offsets the 3 months or whatever you were out, that one officer. How many full-time officers do you have in your department, excluding yourself at the present time?
I have
5?
6 full-time. 6.
6? Okay.
Yes, sir.
How many marked Dodge Chargers do you have in your fleet?
We have 6. That's what that is.
Okay, if you're incurring expenses on these 4 Tauruses, that, by the way, they did run 100,000 miles for Emerald Isle, and you got 6 marked Dodge Chargers, why have you got multiple officers driving Ford Tauruses? In your statement, and Hayden is one of them, and I'd have to get back to the statement, but.
Okay, yes. That all of the vehicles are being utilized by the officers. And the only spare Dodge that we had was vehicle 6, which is being utilized at this time by Officer Bishop. So all the vehicles are there with sometimes one vehicle left there, which normally would have been one of the Ford Tauruses. So that would have been used, either vehicle 6, the Dodge Charger, or vehicle 9, the Ford Taurus. One or the other would have been used for the spare vehicle.
But you're incurring most of your expense on major repairs on the Ford Tauruses that we inherited from Emerald Isle. All but like, I think it's one major expense was a radiator or something on a Dodge, I think, wasn't it? Or
no, sir.
I'm just saying, if you got 6 Dodge Chargers, why are we even driving the Ford Tauruses?
No, we don't have a choice. We have to utilize at least one of those, one of the Ford Tauruses as a vehicle with a spare.
All right, I understand that for Mike Bishop. How many? Okay, I'll move on here. That's good.
Can I give you one example of the Ford Charger expense?
Sure. I've got several questions. I want to hear everything you got to say.
There was some repairs. There was some body repairs to one of our Chargers that was involved in an accident, which was not the officer's fault. So that was an $1,894 expense. One of the Chargers.
The $1,800 for an accident, was it, our insurance wouldn't pay for that?
I believe that it did, and that possibly could be added back into the budget. I would need to speak with Sandy about that. That could be part of the budget amendment.
The $1,800 don't sound like much, but it's a lot to me. But
okay.
And the status on your new car, Chief, you said was due in any time. Wouldn't that relieve some of your maintenance problems?
Well, it would greatly help. Yes, sir. It sure would. If we're short Taurus, we would still be in the same scenario with only one spare car, and we're having multiple breakdowns. That's why my pickup is parked outside the TV now, and I've been using that for the weekend because we're down vehicles. We just don't have any.
But if you got a new Dodge in, theoretically, you could park one of those Ford Tauruses and put Bishop in a Dodge, is what I'm asking, a better vehicle. Okay? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Yes, sir. That's possible. It is possible. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I've got another question too. And Chief, you know, every time you've ever asked for something, I've supported you, and you know that for the last 3 years. Okay. But I have to ask these questions. I have to do my due diligence. It still sticks in my mind though. Why sometimes do we have as many as 3 officers on duty? I mean, Cedar Point has a part-time sheriff deputy, and you never hear of crime sprees going on in Cedar Point. We, as taxpayers for the county, we have access to those county sheriffs, highway patrols. Why do we have as many as 2 or 3? Why do we have to have 3 officers, 2 to 3 officers on duty at 24 at all times? That's why I'm asking.
Okay, we don't have 3 officers on duty at all times. We have a daytime officer and a nighttime officer on one squad with a mid-shift guy that works from 1 to 1 or 3 to 3. The other squad has nobody but a day officer and a night officer. So the fill-ins would come in, like Officer Bishop would have utilized him to the maximum potential And he's been like the tail on the dog that we've just had to wag around to fill in for all these holes. We've just had great challenges over the past 6 months. And so we've utilized him to the max, and there is no other choice. So I haven't even utilized myself. I worked Christmas morning until my part-time help got in, from 4:30 to 9. I fill in holes even now where there's a shortage of officers, either because I was concerned about the funding or there was no one to work and fill in the hole. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, but we gave you help during the budget process and a full-time, part-time. I want to keep reminding you of that. But my last thing is, I got a question, one question. Have you moved Sergeant Walden to desk sergeant, or is he still on patrol full-time?
He's on patrol, and he helps with administrative duties in a tremendous way.
How many hours you think he's on patrol on a shift?
He's on patrol. Most of the time, he's on patrol.
Okay.
Have you got those slides? What I have done, okay. So basically, I've gone back and I've been kind of catching some wind of things being said, and I don't know exactly how to take those things, but anyway, I went back and I've checked, and there was, not counting the other officers, just for instance in Bayshore over the last week, just the officer carrying the duty phone, which I tracked, was in Bayshore 35 times in the last 7 days, but that's not even counting myself, or it's not counting any other officers that were not carrying the duty phone. So my guys are out moving around. And at the same time, they've done, over the last week, they've done 91 traffic stops. So they're out working. On top of that, taking out warrants and processing evidence. There's a lot of administrative duty inside the department that people do not understand.
I'm not questioning the fact that you're not working, Chief. I see it, and I appreciate everything y'all do. I'm just trying to reach a conclusion here if I can support your request. That's all. When the former chief was here, he had a volunteer administrative assistant. Is that something maybe you need to look at?
We don't have enough workload for an administrative assistant. What things that are getting done, they go, like for the sergeant, for instance. I've had him this week looking for grants. The grant season's opened up, so we're looking to see if we qualify for any. There's just so many little details, monthly reports and DCI reporting, and our 2-year audit's coming up here probably within the next few days to a month. So there's a lot of things that go on that people just, outside of law enforcement, they don't understand all of the monthly requirements and the reporting that's laid on us. I think probably Chief Miller understands a little bit about that. So, and there's always something new coming up. We have to juggle vehicle. There's been tons of vehicle maintenance. In that letter, if you'll go back and look at that letter, I have listed some of the expenses for the Dodge Chargers. There's been some hefty charges the last 2 months for head repairs, head gasket replacement, valve replacement, over $2,000 for each vehicle. That's listed in that letter. So I have included some of the major charges inside the letter.
Well, I think, Chief, it's always been a struggle for our little town to fund a full-time police department. We enjoy it. We enjoy the safety that y'all guys provide us, and we appreciate everything y'all do. And but you know, it is a struggle, and I have to ask these questions on behalf of the citizens. So that's all I've got for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? please.
Any further discussion before we call a vote?
Well, this is King. I have some comments. I'm sorry, I had my mute off. I'd like to make a few comments regarding this item. First, what I'd like to say is, if you look at the total of public safety, you look at police, fire, and EMS. Our police department, of our 32.25 cents that we pay on ad valorem, our police department is 7.5 cents. The fire is 6 cents, and the EMS is 5 cents, for a total of 18.5 cents out of 32.25, which is 50% of Cape Carteret's budget. 57.3 is for public safety, of which that 23% of that is our police department. That 57% compares to Emerald Isle at 43% and Swansboro at 41%. Number two, the number of officers, if you look, there's all kinds of data out there on number of officers per capita, and one of the numbers that they use is the number of officers per 1,000. Well, they range from the lowest, which happens to be up in Oregon for whatever reason. It's 1.6 officers per 1,000. Going to New York, which is about New York and New Jersey, which is about 3.5 officers per 1,000. And North Carolina sits somewhere in the middle at about 2.5 officers per 1,000. With a population of 2,000, if we were at the average, we've had 5 officers, but we have 7.5. The last point I'd like to make is, when I came to this board many years ago, we had 5 police officers, and our fire and EMS was 7 cents. Now we have 7.5 police officers, and our fire and EMS is 11 cents. So that's what makes it so difficult when we try to do things in this town to improve things. We spend so much money on public safety that it's very difficult to do some of the nice things we've been trying to do. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, then we'll do a roll call vote. I'll start with Commissioner Waters this time. Commissioner Waters?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Nayless?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
No.
And Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1. The only other item we had on the agenda tonight was to have a discussion about the planning board. We had a couple of commissioners that were asking questions about it and just wanted to talk. And we should always be ready to have discussions. And in February, looking at reappointing pretty much all the planning board, I believe, except for Susan Hall, who is the newest member. And I see Susan is on with us, and thank you, Susan, for showing up. And I just want to say this is just a conversation, and that the fact we're having this is absolutely no reflection on the current board or its members. And I can't say enough that how much I appreciate the great job that they've done and are doing. But there were some things. I had a question as far as the ETJ part of it. As far as by law, we're supposed to have, I believe, 2 members that are appointed by the county to our board, and they are not allowed to vote on anything except on any issues for ETJ. And so I'm just looking at the current board members and want to make sure that when we reappoint that, we're in a compliance with what we're supposed to be doing as far as what the county is dictating. And so I had Zach look into that. And so if there's any other issues, we're going to hopefully find out to make sure we're doing what is proper. That's my main concern, is that we're doing everything right and above board. I've been looking at other towns and their ordinances and planning boards, and there are several comparable ones to ours, and most have a 7-member board. And the ones that have an ETJ also, like I say, have 2 members that represent that area, and they're appointed by the corresponding counties, according to the NC statute. In some instances, the county may defer the appointments back to the town. That may have happened in our instance. I'm not aware of our history as far as the makeup we have now. But those members are, once again, restricted to voting only on issues related to the ETJ. So with that said, like I said, this is no reflection on the current board or its members. But if there was a time if we wanted to look at something as far as how many members we had on the board, what we want to see as far as the makeup, and it would be a good time to do it now before we do the reappointments. And I just think we need to make sure that as far as reappointments are concerned, we're doing what is proper as far as the ETJ members are concerned. I just think that we should also make sure that we're staggering these appointments. So like now, we've got all the members that's up at one time. If we could look at maybe staggering these appointments, I think that's what we need to do. And do we want to do, like most towns, they have not so much a term limit, but they have a stall, in other words. So you serve 2 or 3-year terms, and then you have to set out a term. And it's all about giving people an opportunity to serve. And we want to make sure that people have that opportunity, and those who want to sign up and serve these boards, are allowed to do that. And those who have served, want to come back, they can do that. So they can serve 3, 6, 9 years, whatever this board determines. We can leave it like it is, but just wanted to have a discussion, and that's pretty much it. If anybody else has anything like to add or detract, please jump in there. Like I say, there's nothing really to vote on. I just want to talk about it. And a couple of commissioners did have some comments if they want to speak. I'll open it up.
Mayor?
I got one simple question, Mayor. You mentioned Susan Hall, and you're reverbing again, or everybody's got their speakers open now. What did you say about Susan Hall?
That she is the only member that is not up for reappointment, and she's here.
Okay, thank you.
Online.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner King.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. One thing on this, the comments I make, I'm directing to the town manager to perhaps make some changes and to the planning board section of our ordinance. And I'll start with the ETJ. We have ETJ both within the city limits and outside the city limits. But in the 20 years I've served here, we've never had an issue come up that involves somebody voting on the ETJ. So I'm not so sure whether we need to appoint somebody that will never be used. I just don't know when we're going to ever have anything come up in the ETJ that would require a vote of a planning board member appointed by the county. And the county has never appointed anybody to our ETJ. That's number one, something for Zach to look in. Number two, I think we ought to have just 5 members and regular members and no alternates, and they can operate like, our board and most other boards, and they don't switch around who's voting. I would also like to see them follow the ordinance and have an annual election of a chair and vice chair. I'd like to see them, if you look at the data put out by Heather, we've had less than half of the meetings over the last 3 years. I'd like to go to 1 meeting per month. And I would also like to see attendance of one of the planning board members to report to the Board of Commissioners meeting on the work that they're doing, rather than, Zach doing it all. I would rather one of the sitting members of the board, they can rotate it, or the chair can do it however they want. And that would take some of the burden off Zach, who should serve as an advisor to the board. And those are the kinds of changes I'd like to see. And back on the terms, I think a 3-year term, appointment for a 3-year term, and after 2 successive terms, there should be a break in service to allow somebody else to serve. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner King. Any other members like to comment?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Go ahead, Jim.
A while back, I guess we put out a notice to anybody who was interested in joining the, being a member of the planning board. And most of the members who are there said that they'd like to continue. Do we have a list of people who wanted to be on the planning board who we were not able to fulfill because the slots were already filled? Is there a backup list?
Yes, yeah, we have a running list of people who turned in applications at Town Hall for the planning board positions. So I think there's probably some more applications that might be coming in as well. So we should have all that information for the upcoming meeting.
How many applications did he say?
He didn't. He just said we have a list.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
I think Heather is on here. She might be able to answer that, but I think just one right now, but.
Yes, I have one that has been turned in the last couple of weeks, and I've had another person who said he was interested, but he has not turned anything in.
Okay.
That was another question. Was if the board wants us to put this out via our constant contact, send out this information about how people can sign up for our boards and everything. If the board is interested in us putting out on Facebook or anything like that, to spread the word about it. But I'll just ask for direction if that's something the board wants us to do.
Well, I would think so. Go ahead.
I would think so also. I guess my question would be if there were 4 planning board members who were up for reappointment, and we're putting out the word that, you know, anybody that's interested, if there's those 4 saying they want to continue and there's 2 others that say they're interested, shouldn't we as a board not be voting on who the next 4 members rather than just, well, the spots are filled so we don't have room for you?
Yeah, I think typically a lot of towns would approach it in a way that if you have people that were interested, that were qualified to fill those positions, you would decide based off the qualifications. And you know, I think like Commissioner King mentioned about giving people an opportunity to participate in it. So that is how other towns would approach that typically, is that if you had a whole pool of candidates, they would go through and look at the qualifications of the candidates.
That would be my preference for the way we handle it. If we've got 4 openings and we've got 3 or 4 current members that want to continue and we have 2 or 3 others that want, I think we should be looking at the entire list, you know, and the board deciding who do we want to appoint for this next, rather than just, well, everybody wants to continue on it, so we don't have any room for anybody else. That's going to stop people from even showing interest in it. I mean, they keep putting their name in and they don't even get considered.
Any other comments? The only other comment I want to make is most towns and the boards, and I'm going to challenge you guys, is that they do a rotation of the board members themselves, showing up for the planning board meetings and any other advisory board, that there's a representative from the board. I try to make them as much as possible, and I think each and every board member should take personal responsibility, and at least we can rotate it out and somebody every month represent this board. And I think the same thing should be happening from the planning board aspect, that, you know, especially if they're presenting something that they approved or bringing to us, that somebody from the planning board is accompanying that information being presented to the board.
Mayor, I have a comment, please.
Sure, right ahead.
In regards to your earlier comment about some towns have 7, and we have 5 people currently willing and able to serve on this board, I would make a motion that we increase the planning board size to 7 active members.
And we got 8 now, is that correct?
We have
For the
5.
alternate,
We have 5 regular members and 3 alternates.
3 alternates.
If we increase the capacity of the board, like you said, a lot of other towns do, to 7 and maintain our alternates, then if there's 1 or 2 more people applying, then we shouldn't have any problem filling the board.
Well, I think if we have a 7-member board, then they should be voting. I don't think we should have alternates. They should just be members, regardless of whether it's 5 or 7. And with the ETJ, that's the thing I'm still a little fuzzy on, is how we handle the ETJ. And so we've asked the School of Government as far as, and I think they came back, Zach, you would.
Yeah, so we did pose that question to the school government on what the requirement was for ETJ representation. And the requirement is 1 person to be appointed by the county commissioners to represent the ETJ. We don't have anybody who resides within the ETJs of the town, so that's where the county commissioners would appoint a representative. So if it's okay with everybody on the board, we'll go ahead and send a letter over to the Carteret County Commissioners and ask them to appoint a representative to serve in that capacity of representing the ETJ, and then also go ahead and send out a letter for the Board of Adjustment, because we also need an ETJ representative. But the proportional representation, according to the attorney from the School of Government, was 1 person to represent the ETJ. So if it's good with everybody, and it is statutorily required, so if we could go ahead and send that over, then maybe we'll have a response by the next board meeting when the other appointments are decided.
Right, and they may defer to let us pick someone. So in that case, at least then, next month when we do decide who we're going to appoint, we'll know if the county wanted somebody, and then we're only picking there again what we decide to do here. And we've got that covered. We got all our legal bases attended.
Mr. Mayor, if I may interject, our current planning board does have 7 members, 2 of which are supposed to be for the ETJ, and I think that's why there's discussion here tonight. So we could change our ordinance if the desire of the board is to have 7 members, only 1 of which from the ETJ, and that would be appointed by the county commissioners, if that's what the board's desire is.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may answer Attorney DeSales. According to my information, we have 5 members with 3 alternates. Now, are alternates considered a active member of the planning board? That's what we need to clarify here.
No, sir. Under section 152.16, it states the planning board shall consist of 7 members. 5 members shall be citizens and residents of the town and shall be appointed by this board. 2 members shall be citizens of the county who reside outside of the town but within the ETJ. And the issue has always been, we don't have any, my understanding is no citizens actually live in the ETJ. So that's where the confusion has been. We've just had these 5 members rather than the extra 2. So it would make sense if we want to maintain a 7-member board to have 6 members from the inside the town and then 1 member from the ETJ. Even though we don't have any population in the ETJ, the county commissioners would still have to appoint that individual.
Okay, well, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, but Board of Commissioners can name the amount of planning board members we would like to have. Is that correct? So they serve at the pleasure of the Board of Commissioners. Okay, so
you have to have a minimum of 3. That's the requirement, a minimum of 3. But as long as you have a 3 or more person board, you can have that, with the caveat that you're going to have at least 1 member representing the ETJ.
Well, what my concern is here, and it goes back to what Commissioner Miller may have said in his comments. We have 5 people that have requested to be reinstated on the board. From what I hear, they may be more. my biggest fear is these people are willing and able to serve, and if we got one more or two more applications, then we're going to be forced to make a decision. When honestly, the more the merrier in the planning board, in my opinion. The more input people that's there will have more input, and a lot of times, according to the sheet that Heather sent out, a lot of times there's people that are not present for the meeting. I guess what I'm saying is, I think we need to make it a bigger planning board to accommodate 7 full-time.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor?
Are you through, Steve?
Yeah, until February, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, King.
A couple of comments. You know, the ordinance required us to have 2 from the ETJ. Of course, there's nobody that lives in the ETJ, so there's never in 20 years been an issue from the ETJ. So they kind of made these people that were representing the ETJ, they came up with this thing of alternates, okay? Now they have 3 alternates on the list. And so they kind of pick and choose who's there and who's going to vote. I think it ought to be much more like our board. There's 5 members. If we have to appoint an ETJ member, you know, they don't ever even really need to attend, because they will be appointing them to go to a meeting once a month for the duration of that period, in which they will have nothing to say. Okay, it's one of those statutory things that makes absolutely no sense in a small town like this. So I think we should just send this back to Zach, let him call it around, make some changes, and come back with some recommendations based on the input that we've given him here this evening.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe just for clarity to make sure the input is clear. The desired number of planning board members would be, I'm hearing different things on that, but obviously decrease the number of ETJ representatives to 1, which is what is statutorily required. And I guess if you had 6 regular members, the issue you'd run into is you'd have to have potentially somebody to break a tie, which is, if you're going to do that, either I would say to go to 5 and then the 6th person be the ETJ, or go to 7 and the 8th person be the ETJ. So if there's some direction on which way to go on that, just in case there is a tie, that would kind of alleviate that circumstance from arising. Is there a general consensus on how many members, so we can rewrite that section of the ordinance and present it next time?
I think we need to put a motion on the table, Mayor.
Let me just put my 2 cents worth in for a second.
All right, hang on a second. Mr. Waters, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to say a couple of things, if I may. It's because, first of all, we need to look at the policy procedure in this ordinances. I feel like it needs to be revisited, and there needs to be some things fixed within this. And I will not get into the entirety of it. I believe it's something we could do outside of this. It just needs to be revisited, updated, I should say. Second of all, there's 5 commissioners and 1 mayor. That's 6 of us. I do not believe that the planning board needs to be bigger than what we are. They're not even been meeting every month. So I just feel like 5 members of the planning board and 1 ETJ appointed by the town should be suffice for what we're looking for. I echo some of the things that Mike King said, and also along with what Mr. Miller said as well. This isn't rocket scientists, so I believe we should just look at this and look at 5 and 1 ETJ, and therefore we can move forward. And also some of the new people that want to come on board, we need to look at that as well. Maybe some of the terms. Again, basically what Mike King said and what Mr. Miller said, I'm in concur. That's all.
Mr. Mayor, one more comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe, we've got a lot of diversity of opinion on this thing. And, it's an important function within the town to have a planning board. I'm 5 and, for what it's worth, the one ETJ member, but maybe we take 2 people from this board along with Zach and sit down as a ad hoc committee and kind of formulate, because I have a whole bunch of other things that are in the planning board ordinance that I think need to be addressed that I don't want to spend the time doing tonight, but maybe in a committee thing, it would be a little bit easier for us to try to get to something that the majority of the board would be okay with.
I disagree with Commissioner King on that, Mayor. I think it should be put to a vote on the table tonight. What differences we would like to see, if any, in the planning board ordinance.
Well, like I say, this was all just to have a discussion to begin with, but because we are going to have to vote on it, I think once we get some clarity from the county, that'll help. But as far as if you wanted to make a motion as far as a number to which we could start, and then we can still have a committee as far as the purview of the ordinances concerning, the board. We can look at that as we go. I think the only issue we need to really, focus on as far as if we needed to vote on anything tonight would be the number of the members that we'd like to see going forward. And I've heard 5 and I've heard 7. I mean, I'm good with either one of them. So if someone would like to make a motion, we'll just start from there, I guess.
Mayor, I guess what I'm trying to say here, Mayor, is this is a decision for 5 commissioners, not 2 behind closed doors with the town manager. So any changes to be made to that planning board that serve all 5 commissioners needs to be done in public.
Mr. Mayor,
I agree. But
the committee does not make any decisions. They make recommendations to the board, and all 5 people will get to vote on that and massage it and even change it. I think that this is just too broad a topic. If I was to talk about all of the things that are in this ordinance under the planning board that I've got marked up, we'd be here till 10 o'clock at night. I just feel like a committee is more appropriate than us just trying to say right tonight what we should do.
Well, I want to go on the record disagreeing with Commissioner King. I don't want to get down in the weeds about anything here tonight, but I kind of see where this may be heading, but I disagree with any kind of committee when they represent the entire board.
Something I'll just point out is that we do have an RFP out right now that includes the Unified Development Ordinance development, and this is something ideally that would be addressed in that process, and that would be a committee over several months working on that. So if it deals with some of the broader responsibilities and duties and other items, that might be a better opportunity rather than rushing to get this addressed. I think the main things that we kind of need to iron out would be the number of planning board members, if term limits were to be put in place. And I say that because we would want whoever is appointed to have an expectation for how long their term is, if there is a term limit. So ideally, if we could have answers to that, the number and the number of terms, I believe that would probably address what we're wanting to get at tonight, so we can have that to present to the Board of Commissioners for consideration in February. I think those would be the 2 main items. And then the other sort of duties and responsibilities of the planning board, that even might be something that the planning board and others will be involved in the UDO development process, where there's ample opportunity for citizen input and for dialogue in that process. So that could be a good time to sort of address some of the other aspects while the whole entire ordinance is being reworked anyway. So just something I wanted to chime in and add for consideration.
I would have to agree with that because, like I say, we are going to need to appoint and reappoint in February, and I think that's the key issue. And with the UDO, that'll sort of iron itself out, and we can look at handling that at a later date.
One more quick comment, Mayor, and
Go ahead.
I think Commissioner Miller and Commissioner King will remember. I think, if I correct my memory, but our planning board served on expired terms for well over a year before the last time they were reappointed. So, you know, I understand their term is almost up and we need to reappoint, but I don't know if we need to be in that big a hurry. But anyway, I just want to throw that out.
Right, and like I say, this was just to get the discussion started, to let you know, some of the issues that we need to be. And my main concern, like I say, with the ETJ and making sure that we're just in compliance with that. So I'll leave it up to you, gentlemen, if one of y'all would like to do a motion as far as the term limit that was mentioned and how many members on the board you would like to see before February. If not, we can be thinking about it. We can bring it back up in February and deal with it then, all at one time.
I'd like to make a motion to follow what Attorney DeSantis recommended with, I think he said 7 members and 1, whatever the conservatives ETJ, but I understand what Mr. King said about the ETJ. So I'm just going to make a motion to increase our planning board size to 7 full-time members, which is currently at 5.
So 7 full-time members and the ETJ.
That's correct.
That's correct. Do I have a second for that motion? All right, I don't have a second for that motion. Would anyone like to make another motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor,
All right.
I would go with 5 members of the planning board and 1, the statutory requirement for the ETJ person, that we establish term limits of 3 years and we limit membership to 2 consecutive 3-year terms, and then they'd have to sit out a term.
All right, so the motion is for 5-member board, 1 ETJ, 3-year terms with 2-year consecutive and 1 sitting out. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Miller. Any further discussion on that? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. I'll start with Commissioner Martin.
No.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Nalitz?
No.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Waters?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries 3-2. All right, so that means we'll be voting for 5 members in February to either reappoint or appoint somebody new with 1 ETJ, and we'll hear back from you, Zach, as far as with the county. If they defer to us, we may be assigning that position as well, because that is customary for the county to do that with a lot of towns our size. And that the terms will be for 3 years, and they can serve 2 consecutive terms and then have to sit out and then come back for another. And that's what we're going to do. With that, we'll end that discussion, and we'll have more to come, I'm sure, on that as we go forward. But with that, we'll end up tonight with the commissioner reports or comments. I'll start with Commissioner Miller.
I don't really have anything to report to me. I want to thank Zach and our town staff for everything that they've been through this past year. 2020 was certainly a trying year for everyone. And 2021 doesn't seem to be starting off any better. I still got my hopes up that things will get better for us this year, but I just want to thank all of you, the Police Department, Public Works, for everything you're doing every day to keep this town up and running. I look forward to when we can all be sitting back up here again and have people from the public sitting out here in front of us conducting town business the way it should be. And I hope that's sooner than later, but time will tell. Again, I just want to thank all of you for the hard work and everything.
All right, Commissioner King?
Yeah, a couple things, Mr. Mayor. I sent out a report on the analysis of the flooding up on Sutton Drive that's been around the town for about 20 years. If any of the commissioners or anybody, the staff wants to, it was hard to write that and be clear. So if there's anybody out there that would want to understand it better, I'll be glad to give them a tour of it so they would understand it. It's really pretty simple when you walk the grounds. Second item I've got, I did call in for when they allowed the vaccines for this COVID to people over 75. I called up to get an appointment over a week ago, but I haven't heard back yet. So I think it's probably going to be a slow process depending on how much on the availability of the vaccine. And finally, a request that I had given to Zach, I don't know, meeting or two ago, if he could give the updated mileage on that police vehicle report that he gave us some time ago, I'd appreciate it. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Martin?
Yes, I have a couple things here. First, Zach, can you give us a quick status on the paving effort for that we've already, is it started or no, or what's going on with it?
No, we did just,
Hang on a second. He's coming toward the mic.
we did just get an email today from the contractor, so I think they should be mobilizing soon. They were waiting to get through the holidays and waiting for a warm week where they could do the work. So we did hear from them today, though, so everything appears to be on track. It's just, hopefully we can move it along and get it done.
One more thing, Zach, before you lay the mic down. Status on the Public Works building.
Yeah, Alex and I are going to work on getting some additional quotes. They did seek out some quotes, but I want to see if we can get a couple more. I just want to make sure we're getting the best, most competitive pricing that's out there. So I just want to make sure everything was done in a way that we have the best available price and we get the best value. So we're going to be working on that.
One more thing, Zach. One more thing and I'm done. I would like for you to add on the agenda in February. I want to point this out to the fellow commissioners here. This town imposed an MOTV special tax 6 years ago. It secured a balance of $58,000. Not one dime has ever been spent out of it. It's not fair to the public, so I'm asking Zach to put it on the agenda for discussion by all commissioners. I would like to see a $30,000 taken out of that fund and put in a line item for culvert replacements and or repairs in the town so that we can get a grip on these culverts that are failing fast. And I've read the ordinance that is and talked to Zach about it briefly. That is something that we can use that money for. It's a shame that money's sitting there and not being used. So I'd like to put that on the agenda for February for discussion, Zach. That's all I have, Mayor.
Steve, were you listening to my conversation with Zach before the meeting started? Because that's exactly what we were discussing.
No, Zach and I have been talking about the culvert issues for, well, ever since I've been on the board, and it's always a struggle, as you know, to budget things for this town.
Right.
And that money it's a shame it's sitting there not being used. And I think it needs to be discussed. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. We were talking about that earlier today, was trying to find money for, to increase our paving and our street maintenance. And that money can be used for that. And we can look at adding some sidewalks if we want to, but I think the immediate need is taking care of our existing infrastructure naturally. So yeah, we'll definitely discuss that on the next on our next board meeting. Thanks, Steve. Who did I miss? Jim.
Yeah, I've got nothing to report, but Steve reminded me of that MOTV tax. I read that thing that he sent around or posted, whatever. And I discovered that trailers were not eligible, weren't to be taxed. And yet you guys have been taxing my boat trailer every year. So I want a refund, okay? That's it.
Okay. I'm with you, man.
I got 3 trailers, Jim, and they've been gouging me too.
I know. I got 3 trailers. All right, Commissioner Waters.
Echoing what Mr. Miller said and what Steve said about the MOTV tax. Yeah, we definitely need to look at our streets and culverts. I've been saying that for a while. We need to look at our infrastructure. Great idea that we can move forward and getting some monies in place to heal some of our properties and roadways, and that's in distress. But I'd just like to say that, folks, we need to make sure we can come together and unite as a board. We need to come together and talk and work together for the upcoming year. This year is probably going to be one of the hardest years. 2020 was very difficult, especially on my side. I believe 2021 is going to be a tough year as well. I feel like we need to come together and talk and just communicate, not for personal reasons, but for the town reasons, for the betterment of our community. I'd like to see our town folk come together and work together with us. If we have to have some workshops or even have a community meeting where they have a chance to come to us and talk to us. I do know the cover stuff being a big issue here, we can also probably find a way to work around that, but we need to come together and communicate in a way that's going to be working best for our town. We have a lot to do. We have a lot to accomplish. There's been a lot done in the past, worked on, but let's move forward. And that's how I see things need to be done. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, I'll wrap it up and just say that I am very, very honored and very blessed to be in our little town here. And with the world seem to be on fire lately, I feel very fortunate to be here. And I think it's great that, the biggest problems we're talking about is our infrastructure, and that we don't have some of the civil unrest that's going on in a lot of this country, and that fiscally speaking, we're okay right now. And this past year has been devastating to a lot of businesses, and a lot of our neighbors, and a lot of people, and a lot of towns. And we're okay. But I'm pessimistically optimistic that we'll be okay going forward. But we just need to be very, very aware, that things can change blink of an eye right now. We just need to be, I think, very conservative in what we're trying to do, but we also try to be innovative. And just like we brought up the Public Works building, we need to go ahead and take care of that and get that done. And so hopefully we keep putting things off, we never get anything done. And as you know, in government work, anytime you delay something, that cost is going to go exponentially up every time you come back to visit it. So let's just try to do what we can. And I can't say thank you enough to our staff. I can't say thank you enough to our planning board and to you gentlemen serving this town like you do. I apologize for the electronic aspect of the difficulties we seem to have. My goal is to try to make this town hall open to those who want to come here and speak. That is my only endeavor, is to make sure that we are making sure that those who aren't able to speak electronically and virtually, that they can come here and do it and look at this screen and see you gentlemen at home. And I'm here taking the brunt of it. I take full responsibility for anything that goes haywire for that. So definitely blame that on me, but I'll take that all day long. For if I make a mistake, it's at least in the guise of trying to do something right and do what's best for our town. And as you know, the bulk of our town is in that older aspect of the generation that is new to technology and it's not going gently into that good night. Some people have talked to me about that. But anyway, can't say thank you enough to our staff, Zach, office staff, Public Works, Police Department. It's a rough time out there to try to get stuff done, and I think you're doing an awesome job. I've had 0 complaints from people about our services as far as getting things done via town hall, and when they are getting calls with Public Works and Police Department, we are responding, and so I appreciate and thank you guys for that. And once again, thank you, board, for your time and your service to our town. May God bless us, everyone. And with that, I would love to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I'll do a roll call vote, and we'll call it a night. Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
I think I lost my connection. Can you hear me?
We're voting,
Yes.
voting to adjourn.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Naylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
And Commissioner Waters?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. You have a great week. We'll see you in February.